Good morning.
Morning, Mayor.
Glad to see everyone today and at the top of Thanksgiving week. And thank you to Chief Hayden and City Councilor Sheena Hamilton for joining me today. Back in 2018, the city and the state of Missouri settled a lawsuit over the wrongful conviction and incarceration of George Allen back in the early 1980s. The city was to reimburse the state for the settlement to the tune of about $5.5 million, with a final payment due on September 1st of this year. However, my administration recently received an offer from Attorney General Eric Schmitt's office in September that St. Louis could keep the $5.5 million as long as the city spent it on police personnel. Of course, I assumed it was a political stunt, like most things coming out of the Attorney General's office these days. While we've been working to improve public safety in this office, bringing down our homicide rate by more than 25% this year, and trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19, the Attorney General has spent his time chasing clout and a Senate seat. But my administration is always willing to work with anyone to help improve the lives of residents in our city. We're always looking for more resources to help support our first responders, but if we truly want to make St. Louis a safer place, we need to take a broader, more holistic view at public safety. Last week, our city councilor's office responded to the Attorney General's request with a three-pronged proposal that easily falls under the Attorney General's parameters and addresses the real needs of St. Louis. First, creating a hiring incentive for 911 dispatchers. My administration has made the implementation of long-term fixes of our 911 system a top priority. While we're still working to consolidate our staff to reduce the bottleneck in response times, we're still down dozens of dispatchers. A hiring incentive or bonus, like the $3,000 one we instituted for refuse drivers, would help attract more candidates. When I toured the 911 facility in August with Chief Hayden, I was struck by how empty it was. I heard from dispatchers and managers about how understaffing is a real crisis. The second part of our proposal includes, with more than 3/4 of employees, including police and fire, they've been vaccinated against COVID-19, we want to keep boosting those numbers. A larger vaccine incentive will help us do that, protecting first responders and the public from COVID-19. And third and finally, we proposed improving mental health care resources for officers. We know that our officers are exhausted, and we want to make sure that officers can get the help they need so they can continue to do their jobs responding to violent crime. Senator Carla May highlighted the importance of mental health care for our officers with Senate Bill 57, which Governor Parsons signed into law earlier this year. We also requested the option to spend these funds over many years to invest in the well-being of our first responders, not just the remaining 7 months of the budget year. These solutions not only fall within the parameters of the Attorney General's request, they would help keep us safer. Now, I appreciate the Attorney General for offering St. Louis the opportunity to keep these funds to improve public safety, to protect people from COVID-19, and addressing problems in our 911 system and supporting our first responders. Anyone who reads my Twitter feed knows how I feel about the Attorney General using the powers of his office to serve his own political ambitions while wasting our tax dollars. I like to call him the Sue Bully. But as a recovering state legislator, I'm willing to put aside differences to help get our city the resources that it needs. The Attorney General is a recovering legislator as well. The Eric Schmitt I remember from Jefferson City, who used to collaborate across the aisle, who I used to work with to pass bills, who is a part of the prestigious bipartisan Rodell Fellowship, isn't the one that I see on Fox News. I'm hoping he's serious about getting our first responders the support they need. I hope he's serious about helping us fix our broken 911 system. And I hope that he's serious about helping get more police and firefighters vaccinated and protected against COVID-19. I hope that he puts his campaigning aside and goes back to bipartisan values to protect people and to get things done. We look forward to the Attorney General's response on this matter.
All right, we'll open it up for questions. We got about 5 minutes.
Can you give more details about what the incentives would be for the dispatchers and for the vaccine for officers?
Well, right now we have a $100 incentive, so we're looking to increase that incentive to help get them vaccinated. And our current numbers show that police and fire have the highest numbers of unvaccinated employees in all of our departments.
But there's not been a set number of what the incentive.
Not at this time, no. Any other questions?
Minnesota Public Radio filed a suit against the police department yesterday over its refusal to release homicide data. What's your response, and how will you encourage the department to become more transparent?
Well, that's been a problem that we've experienced ourselves, and we're hoping that we can work with the police department under Chief Hayden's leadership to make sure that we can respond to more sunshine requests in a timely manner.
So, Mayor, good morning. Just so I understand the nuts and bolts of this, you get to keep the is it 5.2 or 5.5?
5.5 million.
There's no dispute about whether the city gets to keep it? Everybody's in agreement on that?
The Attorney General said we could keep it as long as we used it for public safety and first responders.
Now, is he suggesting you use it in any specific way that you disagree with?
I'm not aware of any suggestions from his office on how to use the money.
Speaking of police, just last week, the police union said the number of staff is at an all-time low of 1,126. Any thoughts about using the money to hire more police or recruit more bonuses for police?
Well, St. Louis has more police per capita than any city our size. So it's not a question of if we have enough, it's a question of how we deploy our current resources.
Well, to some that might seem like semantics because the authorized strength of the department is well over the amount that we're at now. We're supposed to have like 1,300. We have 1,126. Why not use some of the money to boost it back up to 1,300?
Well, Kevin, as you know, that one of the things I have advocated for is deploying the right resource to the right call and staffing our public safety department with other types of responders like behavioral health responders, behavioral health counselors, licensed clinical social workers. And our Cops and Clinicians program has currently seen success with the over 2,000 people that they have encountered. Over 90% have been diverted from entering our criminal justice system, and over 75% have been diverted from our emergency rooms. So these diversion plans work. It's about having a holistic approach to public safety and not necessarily more officers.
But some people say that's great, you know, after you show up and you fill out the report and say, okay, you will be diverted away from jail, but
That's not how it works.
others are saying, well, there's just not enough cops to show up now when somebody calls 911, that there's a real public safety emergency. 1,126 officers, the lowest it's ever been.
Well, the problem is also getting your call answered by 911. And so we have, one of our proposals is to increase the hiring bonus for 911 operators and also continue our effort to combine all of our dispatchers into one unit.
Well, the mental health support for officers, what would that involve?
We're still not sure, but obviously our officers are exhausted and need help. I am one who all too often will say, everybody needs some couch time every once in a while. And to be able to talk through the kind of trauma that they experience. I cannot imagine the kind of trauma that they experience day in, day out, responding to homicides, responding to assaults. And so that can take a toll on someone's mental health. And so we want to offer them the tools that they need to be whole, and so they can continue to show up as a whole person to the responsibilities that they have to do on a daily basis.
We got time for one more.
This is unrelated to this particularly, but still on this topic of public safety. We saw the incident that happened in Wisconsin over the weekend, and we're heading into the Thanksgiving holiday with the parade taking place. Just regards of public safety, how do we plan to address, any potential concerns kind of following that weekend, just with safety, policing downtown, et cetera?
Well, we've seen success with our downtown and public safety or engagement and public safety initiative. We've seen fewer incidents downtown, but I will never stand in the way of anyone's right to express their First Amendment rights to protest.
Are we anticipating any more additional safety measures than we would normally see in a given year for this particular parade?
I'm not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I do have a release for everybody before you go.
Thank you.